Now, I know it may seem like all I talk about on this channel is controversial things related to pop culture, and honestly, you'd be kind of fair in saying that given my recent slew of videos. But today I'm going to be talking about yet another controversial movie, that being I Know What You Did Last Summer 2025. Basically, this isn't going to be a review, it's going to be a kind of maybe even quick review, if that. But I wanted to talk about the ending of this movie, some of the ideas it plays with, in regards to other horror franchises I wish it did what this movie does. So if you haven't seen I Know What You Did Last Summer and you care to see it and you care about spoilers, just know this is your official spoiler warning because I will be talking about everything in depth. It's kind of unavoidable for what I want to talk about in regards to this. So yeah, you have been warned. But getting right into it, my quick review of this movie is I thought it was fine, but then again, I'd like to preface with saying I'm not a gigantic fan of this franchise. Me and my wife actually just saw the first one for the first time right before we watched this. That way, we could understand the references, but also we just have always wanted to check it out, and this was a good reason to. Other than, these two movies, our only experience with this franchise has been Scary Movie. And I mean, if you guys don't know that movie and, those I Know What You Did Last Summer references in it, it's quite funny. It is. And I'm not going to lie. I don't know if that harmed my viewing experience, but I just didn't really... This franchise didn't really become one of my immediate favorites, like Scream or Nightmare on Elm Street or Halloween. It's kind of goofier to me, and I think that having seen Scary Movie before I've seen the original definitely played a role in that, because the whole, they even hit the guy, and my immediate reaction is, oh my god, we hit a boot, where's the butt? It's just so goofy. But I don't know, I thought the original was fine, and this one is kind of like, I try not to be too much of a critic, even though I give my reviews on YouTube sometimes. I know what kind of person I am. I'm not a cinephile. I'm not some sophisticated movie genius. I know my place. I know my lane. But even me, I'm like, this movie had so many moments where, oh my god, they might as well have just laid it out in red crayon for you on a piece of paper and just held it up and told you, hey, this person's the killer, or hey, this is for example, there's a part in the beginning where the character is getting dressed and she's talking to herself in the most non-human-like way. I mean, I've never met somebody, or me myself, talk to myself in this way, where she's getting dressed. She's like, don't worry, it's only your ex-boyfriend who you broke up with exactly 1 year ago today, and it's only your best friend's engagement party you're going to, so don't... It's like stuff like that throughout this entire movie, honestly, where they literally lay it out for you, like beat for beat, exposition wise. And I'm usually one of those people where exposition like that doesn't bother me as bad, but for some reason it really bothered me here, where I'm like, okay, are you serious? You have no better way to deliver this exposition than this? Okay, sure, whatever. But then skipping ahead, there's a scene specifically at the end where they believe the killer, they got her. They believe they got the killer in Stevie. I'll put a picture over here in case you don't really remember the movie that much. But yeah, they believe they got her. They're back at the bar, at Ray's bar. And then, the main character, I'm blanking on her name, but she's leaving a voicemail for, I can't remember the original girl's name either. This is what I'm talking about. Like, these movies didn't really leave an impact on me, but I think her name is Julie James or Julie Jane. Either way, the main character of the newer movie is leaving a voicemail for her, and she's like, hey, Stevie was the killer, thought I'd let you know, I'm back at Ray's. It's crazy though that it's almost like there was two of them, and I'm like, okay, so wow, thank you for the information. Number one, who leaves a voicemail like that? Okay, I've seen this complaint and I fully agree. Like, oh, don't call the cops, because Ray didn't report to the cops. Your friend is only, floating in the sea, possibly alive, probably dead, but still possibly alive. Don't call the cops though. Go back to this shady bar for reasons. I'm not quite sure why. But yeah, isolate yourself in this bar And then even though you apparently do have this, this thought in your head like, there's probably two of them, because how else could she have been this place and this place? No, I'd say go back to the bar. Yeah, that's a good choice. But also, she calls Julie before she calls anybody else, and she leaves this voicemail. And like I mentioned before with the whole like exposition, again, do you want to write it down in crayon for us and hold it up on a sign and tell the audience, hey, there's a second killer? And it's probably the guy she's alone in a dark, creepy bar with. Even though it's the original guy from the first one. I'm blanking on his character's name as well. But it's Sarah Michelle Gellar's husband. And it's quite a shocking twist, all things considered. If you take out the blinking or the flashing lights telling you it's him, there's another guy. If you take that out, it is quite a surprising twist, honestly, because to my knowledge, I don't think there's been a twist like this in a slasher where they take a legacy character and they make them one of the killers. So I honestly like that. And that's actually what sparked my idea for this video and something I wanted to talk about. And that is, this is exactly something that I wish Scream did. There's been a lot of talks over time. I'm a big Scream fan. There's been a lot of talks over time with, Scream scripts or ideas that never came to fruition or that never happened or that got reworked, and they might come back in later movies and ideas. But one thing I've always wanted out of a Scream movie was to see the trauma truly affect one of our legacy characters. And, if you don't know, the main legacy characters are Gale, Dewey, and Sidney. And I always thought it would be such an interesting premise, especially considering the Scream movies are based a lot around like mystery and figuring out who the killer is, and the killer is always having like cool or at least like unique motives that are, believable and just enough of a twist on it to where it makes it harder for the audience to guess, aside from maybe Scream 6. Scream 6 was kind of lame in my opinion, but nonetheless, I always loved figuring out who the killers are, and when I showed them to my wife, that was our favorite part, like me watching her try to figure it out and then gaslighting her when she eventually did. Like, oh, I don't know, Billy's pretty suspicious. No, babe, you got it wrong, sorry, keep guessing. It's like, and maybe it's just because I just love that element of those movies. But one thing I've always wanted was to see, like, one of them snap. Like, one of the surviving three just, like, snap and become a killer. Because I always thought that would add such a cool element to it. And this movie, it does that with one of its legacy characters, but in my opinion, does not execute it very well at all. And it's very unfortunate because it could have made this movie, honestly, so much better. And honestly, maybe I'm not being fair to it because the writing is also just horrible. So maybe if the writing was better and they still did this the same, I'd probably be a little bit more, forgiving. But that's not the case. So I do wish it was done better. But that being said, just imagine, like, a Scream movie, say Scream 3, if anything, where we find out, like, there's two killers maybe still, but one of them gets killed by the other Ghostface, and that Ghostface pulls off their mask, and it's like, my pick for it was always going to be, like, say it's Gale, because Gale would make sense. Okay, here's why I say that. I'm getting far ahead of myself. I get so excited about this type of stuff. I think Gale would make the most sense because, number one, Sydney, it's obviously not going to be her. She's the one she's your final girl. She's the one that needs to go through all the trauma and come out stronger on the other side. That just wouldn't work making it her. Dewey is a possibility, and they've toyed with that. I know for a fact with the first one and like a little bit of the second one. And some of the other ones, they might have like mentioned it where it's like Dewey's kind of suspect. But at the end of the day, the Dewey is a good guy. So even if we're talking like by the second Scream, I just feel like, me personally, the way I always interpreted Dewey in those movies is, yeah, he's goofy and kind of weird sometimes, but he's not a killer. Dewey's a genuinely good person in this world. So I think making him the killer would have been pretty cheap. But making Gale the killer would be so great for so many reasons. Number one, we already know she would do anything for publicity and for media attention. In the first one, she's writing a book on Sydney's mom's, case, and how Sydney probably locked up the wrong guy. In the second one, she's still a news reporter. She's still going after the case and trying to make a name for herself. And, it keeps going on throughout the movies. And even in the sixth one, after the events of the fifth one, she tells the girls that she's not writing a story about this to, as to not give the killer publicity, but she does it anyways. So what you could do is you could have Gale maybe even be the killer of, I would say the seventh one, but that you would need the other movies to go differently. My theory is, or my proposal would have been to have her be the killer of like maybe the third, round out the trilogy really nice with a really huge twist, bringing it all back to the original. It would just make sense, because that way you could have her motive be like, oh, I was trying to, I wanted to keep making a name for myself, and these idiots need help. So she would be the one masterminding it, and she would basically maybe show up for the easier kills. That way you could explain away, like, how would these people not fight off Courtney Cox? It's like, but maybe you could have her be the killer for the easier ones, or the lighter kills, and just have the other ghost faces be ploys after Billy and Stu, of course, in her her plan. I think that'd be really genius, because it's shown in the movies. Gale is a smart person. She's not a dumb person at all. She's very clever. She's very resourceful. She's at times very cruel. So I think if they wanted to lean more into that, they could have easily done it, and not just done it, done it better than this I Know What You Did Last Summer movie did. To me, that her twist would make a lot of sense. It's not something I've heard people bring up a whole lot, and I don't know if that's just like because people have a soft spot in their hearts for the character of Gale Weathers, or Gale Hailstorm if you're watching Scary Movie. But yeah, I think it would just be a really cool twist, and I think there's a lot there that you could touch on and kind of go off of to have like true motive and motivations for her making the choices that she does. So, I don't know, that was just kind of my thoughts on it after seeing this movie. That kind of popped into my head when I was in the theater, and I saw that Ray was the killer. I was quite shocked. Unfortunately, I wasn't as shocked, because, I had to be told that, they had to hold my hand along with everybody else and tell them, hey guys, there's another killer, look out. So, I don't know, it was okay. I think if you like slasher movies and you're not a huge diehard fan of this franchise and you go see this, you'll have a good time. Although the kills aren't that great. I'm not a horror expert, but in my opinion, they weren't that great. They weren't that entertaining. But overall, the movie was entertaining enough with certain elements it had that I wasn't like mad I spent money on a ticket. I guess that pretty much sums up this movie perfectly, honestly. So yeah, if you're looking to get out of the house, you want to go to the movies, this might not be a bad choice, but wasn't the movie for me. I hope I didn't offend any I Know What You Did Last Summer fans. I'm not saying it's a bad franchise. It's just not one for me. And honestly, I didn't think that would be super controversial, but from the stuff I've been seeing online and the discourse I've been seeing online, people either genuinely think this movie is amazing and misunderstood already, or they think it's a piece of shit. And I'm kind of in the middle. I don't think it's anywhere near amazing and misunderstood, but I also don't think it's a complete piece of shit. So that's my quick thoughts and how I would have wanted them to use this kind of plot line in a better franchise, in my opinion, Scream. So let me know what you guys think below. If you agree with me, if you think if it's a semi-interesting theory or way to go for the franchise. And let me know how you would implement something like that now in the Scream franchise if they did, decided to go that way now. Because obviously we're missing Dewey, so you'd have to either go with Sydney or Gale, which kind of, helps my theory a little bit more. But yeah, let me know what you guys think if you stuck around this long and listened to me talk. I truly do appreciate it. And I look forward to talking to you guys about something else in the future. So I'll see you next time. Be sure to like and subscribe.